Welcome back. This is the Revitalized Podcast.
I sound being
Revitalized Podcast. Why do we whisper it every time?
because I started doing that and now I'm staying.
Okay, fine, cool with me. And so today, continuing the theme of preparing for the new year, making 2025 amazing, Elle and I thought it would be a cool idea if we shared some lessons from our own lives, some stories from our own lives of things that have in the past really held us back from growing, from learning, from accomplishing the stuff that we wanted to. And at least I think we're doing pretty good now. We've definitely gotten better in a lot of these things. No means are we perfect by any means. But these are things that we've had to overcome, problems that we've had that have really, really set us back, and were really big issues that we have at least learned a couple things about beating them, overcoming them, growing past them, all that stuff. And we teach these things to our clients now, and they get great results. So we wanted to share them with our Revitalized Podcast audience because 2025 is an amazing year. It's going to be an amazing year. And we just want to do everything we can to help you guys grab it. Just grab this here by the gonads and force it into a good year.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is like, so many people, they just end up with repetition every single year. And that's not what we want. And then how do we get out of that? How do we improve our lives? How do we end up with, lives that are more adventurous, right? That are more successful? Because success doesn't necessarily mean like, reaching $1 billion. Success is like ultimately like a form of satisfaction where, you're more content with yourself, with your life. You're happy, you feel like a sense of purpose and fulfillment, and you've healed from a lot of things, and then also like you continually grow. And the reality is this world has set you up for failure, not set you up for success. We've learned terrible habits from a lot of people that we grew up around, that we've been around now, and we need to get out of that. We need to set ourselves up for success. So how can we do that? And we're going to dive a little bit into that, to talk about things that hold people back. So, because the thing is, it's like every single human being, the human experience, usually there's a lot of things that everyone kind of has an idea of, like as experienced, like every kind of person has typically experienced like a lot of the similar.
We've all been through stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff is similar to other people.
Absolutely. One thing I like to say to a lot of people is how, the common denominator across all peoples and every time and, every country, every culture is that we've all been through pain. They've all experienced pain. And sure, like not everyone grew up in like a war-torn country or something like this, and that's horrible. But we've all been through pain, and we've all, learned to think a certain way, feel a certain way. And a lot of times those ways that we've been taught to operate, like I said, they don't set us up for success. They don't set us up for fulfillment. They, can just lead us into a life that feels miserable, because sometimes like feeling miserable is not necessarily just, you have horrible things happening to you, but it's that nothing necessarily epic or good is happening to you.
Yeah, or you don't perceive anything good happening to you.
That's true.
Like there was a lot of bad things that happen to people that they see as bad things, but then later in life, it's like, oh wow, I'm happy that happened because I learned this lesson, or because I grew, or because like I'm stronger, and that happens all the time. And our perception, our mentality is, we talked about it last episode, it's important. Like it literally dictates our reality. It dictates how we respond to every kind of situation. And if you're going through hard times, learning how to control your perception so you could maybe make those bad times better just by the way you're thinking about them is it's a freaking life skill.
No, I can't do that. Oh no, never mind. There you
Got
go.
it.
There you go.
That's my.
There you go. But yeah, you know, we're supposed to evolve for sure. And so, yeah, I guess we'll just jump into it. So one of the things that we really wanted to talk about, which I think everyone can relate with, as we were saying, is that procrastination. You know, that's obviously something that can really get in the way of people doing the things they want to do, reaching the goals they want to reach, and just overall, you know, enjoying life more. Actually, baby, this was your idea to bring up, so why don't you kind of go into some of your experience with it?
Yeah, well, I mean, cheese. Every single guy, cheese especially.
Cheese, yeah.
Every single guy suffers from procrastination. At least the men that I've met. I'm sure there's some out there that's not really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit different than women. You know, like at least the reason why. So for me, I noticed and I learned about myself that I procrastinate when I don't feel like I can do it, when I don't feel like it's going to go well, when I think I'm going to mess up in some way, if I'm going to make a mistake or be embarrassed, or it's just not going to happen like the way that I'm envisioning it, because it's a confidence issue more than anything else, you know? And I see that like in just laziness in general in dudes, in guys. It's like it's not necessarily that we don't know how to do something or we're not disciplined enough to do something, because like we do stuff all the time. And guys will do like super hard things if they enjoy it. You know, you can meet some super, super lazy people on paper that will go and train MMA for 3-4 hours a week. MMA is hard. Like it takes hard work and discipline to get punched in the face and punch somebody else in the face and then do that more than once. You know what I mean? But they can still be super lazy with their work or with making their bed or with other things. And so it's not necessarily like a work ethic thing all the time. It's definitely a discipline thing. But a lot of the time it's just like, we're just as sensitive in a lot of ways as women are, you know, like, you know that.
Yeah.
And if our emotions or our mind isn't in it to win it, like we're not going to do well. You know, that's one thing that men really, really need. At least I needed a lot, was just motivation, you know, and faith in myself, which baby, come on, you know, you have been massive for this. Like I wouldn't have faith in myself if it wasn't for God. Yeah, obviously, but also you, and just, you know, you having faith in me, you building me up, you reminding me who I am, all that stuff. That's what's, you know, kept it high. And since I've started to realize that and understand that it's not just a work ethic, a skill set, or like I suck so bad I can't do this kind of thing, I'm procrastinating a lot less on things that I used to procrastinate a lot. You know, because I changed my mentality around myself. Well, like first I understood what the thing actually was. So it's like, okay, well, if I'm procrastinating on something because I don't think that I can do it, well, that's a lot different than I'm just a lazy personality type, and that's just who I am, and whatever it's, you know. And so you get to work on solving the problem because you found a solution. If I don't have enough confidence, okay, then I got to build more confidence. If I don't think that I can do this thing well, then maybe I spend a little bit of time learning more about it, or I give it a shot and I just go into it accepting the fact that it might not be perfect first time around, that I might have to do 3, 4, 5 takes, or if you're like me, freaking 47 just to get a video out on Instagram or whatever. But when you learn that, it really changes your perception on what you're procrastinating on. And then you got to tie in all the discipline and the motivation and the why and all that kind of stuff. And that comes in, and that's, you know, critical. You need that. But like I said, just, you know, for me, it's definitely been a motivation, self-belief issue. And as I've started to learn that it's not about me, that my confidence doesn't come from me by myself, it comes from me and all the support that I have. It comes from me working with God. It comes from me being married to a badass woman. It comes from me having an awesome team. It comes from me working with the right kind of clients that actually want to listen, not just have to, you know, I don't got to twist their arm to get them to do everything. That's really, it's not just me, you know, it's me and the environment that we've created and the people we surround ourselves and all the, exactly, just everything that we've done to give ourselves an advantage, you know. And you look at things like that, it makes it a lot easier to have the faith that you need in you, because it's not about you, And, you know, we talk about this all the time, but everyone's always going to have the worst opinion of themselves more than other people. Even the super prideful, arrogant, cocky ones, it's just a show. But, you know, just learning those things about myself and then putting them into practice and seeing how it's changed me and grown me as a man. It's been huge, everything.
Yeah. So just like thinking about things like in a positive, truthful way, and then also having a lot of encouragement. And, you know, like you said, not making it about you, because, you know, we're the ones that get into our own way. And so like how it's really helped you with procrastination is just prioritize, like thinking about what's more important than how you feel in that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like it's really, you know, because it's incredible how much of you know, reaching our goals or doing what we want to do, or the problems that we have to do with the confidence thing, have to do with feeling insufficient. And, you know, that was something that, you know, was really bad for a really, really long time. Like I used to like feel bad for existing, basically, you know, just with the way I grew up and all. And the thing is with that, when it comes to faith, you know, faith in yourself, faith in your capability, part of the root of that is actually a lack of love. If you're experiencing a lack of faith, then it's actually a lack of love.
Well, because it was love that you should have had that would have built you up into having the mindset or the confidence or the identity about yourself to feel better, to think better about who you are.
Exactly. And that's probably like that topic just right there is probably something that women may be able to understand a little bit or conceptualize a little bit easier than men.
Easier,
No,
but
little bit more easily.
If anything, I think that it might be more important for men to hear than women, because you guys have that advantage where like you guys just talk about everything, you know, good or bad, gossipy, not gossipy, productive, not productive. Like you're trained to talk. You know, if you have a problem, you go to your girlfriend, you go to your support group.
Oh, we're professional yappers, aren't we?
Yeah, but guys, it's the exact opposite. You know, almost every time that a man has spoken up and said something about himself or how he feels, or, you know, became vulnerable because of his you know, dad, brothers, school friends, girlfriends, whoever, like most of the time just ends up in pain. So we're trained to not say anything.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's more important for men to be loved than women. It's obviously not. But just because, like you said, it's easier for you guys to pick up on that and to learn that about yourselves and accept that, you know, I think it might be something that is more important for men to hear, because they more likely than not haven't heard it. And it's more likely that a woman has.
Do you think that like talking about what you're dealing with and how you're feeling with someone you trust, like me or whoever, like one of your mentors, for example, has really helped you to procrastinate less?
Yes, in the sense that it has given me something to be accountable to, you know, like, and this is going way off topic, but like with the whole porn thing, you know, when I decided that when I screwed up and I went back and I looked at some stuff I shouldn't be seeing, if I knew that I was going to have to tell you about it after, it made it a heck of a lot easier, because you being disappointed in me mattered way more than me being disappointed in me. You know, me being disappointed in me, which is the constant, was all the time. When you get disappointed in me, it actually means something. It's different, you know. And I think a lot of people, not just men and women, you know, need a little bit more of that. A third party, trusted source of accountability. You know, someone that you can go to and you can talk to, and you mess up for the 1,000th time, and they're going to choose to love you anyway. And loving you means that they're not going to judge you, they're not going to ridicule you, they're not going to embarrass you, all that stuff. But at the same time, they're not going to coddle you either.
Yes.
You know, never once were you like, oh, it's okay, baby. It's all good. If you want to watch a little bit, that's okay. Like, never once did you do that. You didn't make light of the situation. You're just like, I love you anyway. Like, and it does hurt, and I don't like it, and it really sucks. And I know that you're going through the pain just as much as I am about this situation. So that's why I'm not even going to bust your balls. But, you know, this has to change.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah. And that's what, you know, we all need. And I hope that I've done a good job of doing that for you, but that's definitely what you've done for me.
You've done an excellent job for me in so many different ways. Like, absolutely. Like, especially like reaffirming the truth, because, I really, like, that's something else, but I just wanted to touch on what you just said right there. How
Just touch it.
you said, just
Touch it. Touch on it.
Okay. Just how you said.
Grab it and touch it.
Okay, Justin, I'm trying not to lose my train of thought here.
Okay, don't get off the train then.
Okay. How you were saying that, just how, like, how you always felt disappointed in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But then when someone else did it who wasn't constantly disappointing you, like you were with you, it mattered more. It was more potent. Just like when people have like an anger problem, if they're angry all the time, then it's
just
like, they're getting angry again. But for you, for example, you have excellent control over regulating your emotions. Maybe there's been times when you followed them inside a little bit, just a little bit, I say. But that's one thing that I've always really respected about you, because, just how
cool as a cucumber to deep freeze, baby.
It's just how, you or a lot of guys struggle with not expressing their feelings, right? And so sometimes they can be a little bit more logical, a little bit less emotional about situations, and sometimes that's so needed. And then with women, probably I would say one of our biggest challenges is too much feeling, too much talking, too much, revisiting the same thing again and again and not making changes happen. That's another thing too, where it's like, your procrastination is not necessarily not doing something, but not doing something that is effective.
Right.
Right? Like if you have a problem and you're like not resolving the problem, then you're not being effective. You keep coming back to it. You keep visiting back. And so that's one thing with women. But that's one thing that I just want to touch on with you is like, you've always been so good at regulating your emotions, and I've always like respected that. And just seeing you do that, even though maybe part of learning, even though part of like that was you were taught not to address your feelings, so there's a toxic side and a positive side. Just like in the sense of growing up talking about your feelings, there's a toxic side and a positive side to it.
Right. Well, I think the big difference is just denial or control. Like, am I going to deny my feelings because they're overwhelming and I can't handle it, and I'm just going to bottle them all down so I don't got to think about it anymore? Or am I going to get in control of my feelings and actually be productive and figure things out? And that's like very, very missing kind of strength, I think, in people today.
Yeah.
They just like don't know how to control themselves. They don't have self-control with their food. They don't have self-control with their goals, with their planning. They don't have self-control with their discipline. They don't have self-control with their sexual lives. They don't have self-control with where their time goes, their phone, their TVs, tons of stuff. And that's just, just something that I've always respected in people when I did see it. And so I've always just tried to make that a big priority, because I've seen a lot of the opposite. I've seen what it's like when men and women are out of control, when they can't control their emotions, when, like, it's always that guy in a movie, it's always that snarky, like over dramatic, slimy type of bad guy villain who like, you disrespected me, blah, 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 and it just like freaks out. He's always got that high pitched voice. Like that's a lot of people today. Maybe not like a Bond villain, but they're always overreacting. They're always losing their cool. They're always taking stuff too personally. They're always feeling disrespected. They're always whatever. It's like, if you're feeling disrespected, at some point you lost some respect for yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel disrespected. If you had true self-respect, somebody can walk up to you and spit in your face. And I'm not going to say you're going to be happy about it, but it's not going to make you feel insecure about yourself either, because it doesn't change anything about you.
Yeah.
When you have those like triggering insecurities that just come up all the time, there's already something there to trigger.
And now you're saying like the whole thing of not taking things personally, like it can be really hard not to do that when it's yourself who's disrespecting yourself, who's letting yourself down, right? Like,
well, that's the hardest.
That is the hardest. You said you would do something and then you don't fall.
You can never get away from you.
You can never.
You are stuck with you every day of your life.
And then again, it's like, then that's where the feelings of like shame can come in. And then you procrastinate on even dealing with it because, like you said, sometimes it can be too much. But, you know, if we don't deal with the problem will just get worse and worse and worse. And this is why we need support.
Totally.
This is why we have to have support, when we have to have accountability. And
it's like we're always talking about this. You know, we teach everybody that joins the academy.
yeah,
Without honesty, there's no progress. So if you're not willing to be honest with us about the mistakes you're making with your diet or with your exercise, and if we're not willing to be honest with you about the things that you need help with, like, there's no growth, there's no progress. If there's any kind of denial, it doesn't work out. I just did the Trump ads. If somebody's not willing to be honest about what they're going through or what they need or what they don't need, or just be honest that they don't know what they need or don't need, that's fine too. But just without that honesty, you know, like you're talking about, just ignoring stuff, deflecting stuff, being in denial, that's all dishonesty, just different forms of dishonesty. And if you are not strong enough to be honest, or you weren't taught how to be honest, because that's another big thing too. You know, we grow up around in a world full of liars. Let's just be real here. You know, we're talking about progress in 2025, so let's make some progress, and that requires some honesty. But it's tough. Like, it's incredibly hard. And then if nobody has told people that before, like, you know, we find this all the time. There's like, could we have these kinds of conversations? Like, this is the first time I'm hearing this. This is the first time I'm learning this. You know, they say that, or they say it with their eyes or whatever, and then it just takes this huge weight off of their shoulders, because they're like, I actually know what is wrong now, and I know what to do to fix it, and I have support to actually get to work on it, and I'm not doing this alone anymore. And like, they can see light at the end of the tunnel, you know, because you're not just like endlessly running in the dark anymore.
Yeah, don't do that. You could like hit a tree.
You could run into a wall. That sucks.
That's probably not very fun.
I've done it.
Oh my God.
It's never been fun. It's never been fun.
That's
probably my forehead. My forehead more than anything else. Just, I'm always like smacking into frickin' stuff.
But not always, just sometimes. Like, especially,
it's enough to be consistent.
Like, okay, guys, there's this. When I first started learning about, for example, light therapy, this was a while ago. I turned like basically all of our lights off in the evening time, like as the sun was going down and stuff.
That was where the dark days.
And then they were like, honestly, because like we both kept running into walls.
Do you get it?
You know, yeah, I got it.
Because you turn the lights down. And I
got it. Yeah, I got it. But the point being, like, okay, so essentially with light therapy, one aspect to it is you don't want bright lights, regardless if that's red lights or any kind of colored lights. Obviously, you know, more amber or red light is better than like other colors, but you don't want bright lights happening. So really one of the best things you can do in the evening time is to dim everything. So that's what is my attempt was, you know, I'll just dim as much and turn off as many lights as I possibly can. And yeah, there was a few loud noises of people's heads running the walls. It was kind of funny. It was a time to be alive. It's still a time to be alive, but you know what I mean. Anyways, back to the first example that you made with the procrastination thing. Like you were saying, men and women can be a little bit different in this. So, you know, with everyone, it's pretty much I don't believe I can do it. It's an insufficiency issue, or overall insecurity issue, which is a faith issue, and a faith issue is a lack of love issue, and a lack of love issue is an identity issue, and et cetera, et cetera. But essentially, how we handle it, right? Because procrastination is a symptom of an identity problem. And because the skills can also be part of your identity too.
Sure.
Because part of your identity is also like your standards and your values, et cetera, et cetera.
But correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But I think naturally, you know, like, first of all, men and women are very different. Like, our hormones are different. The way we think is different. The way we feel is different.
You think so?
100%. Yes. I think I've not been married long, but I've been married long enough to know that is a truth. And it is also something I recommend every male do. Every guy, find a woman, marry her, and you'll actually start to learn about women. If you don't have any experience,
find a woman, go out, find a woman, and then marry her.
Find her, and marry her.
Yeah, and then you'll know. Then you will know for certainty that men and women are different. If you don't know already, then you have to get married.
Exactly. Because like as dudes, if we didn't spend a lot of time around women, we don't know women at all. And I'm not talking about the dating scene. That is completely ridiculous. And I'll have to do an entire 3-hour-long rant on just how stupid I think young men are today, and the way they handle their relationships with women and the way they set their priorities. And I use the word stupid on purpose because it is stupid. I don't care if it hurts your feelings. It's just the truth.
Yeah, but men don't have feelings, so it's okay.
No, they do. They do. But any
I just don't want to talk about that. But yeah, so with the difference between men and women,
yeah, just
procrastination,
naturally, naturally, I think that because of the way that men are trained to think and the way that our hormones are and just, our physicality and all those kinds of things, I think that it's naturally easier for men to face a hard challenge, like something that they know is going to be hard work, long hours, physical labor, that type of thing, than it is a woman. Just generally, not all the time, but most of the time. So I think that does play a little bit of a bigger role on the procrastination side for the females. Just if they know something's going to be hard, it's easier to just avoid it a little bit or just push it off a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And then also what's the aspect with men in terms of where they're weaker with procrastination?
Well, it's like I said, just the confidence thing. If a woman, let's talk about moms, right?
Let's talk about moms.
And why am I talking about the women?
Why are you talking about moms? Yeah.
But
you were making a point about women or how men.
Well, I was trying to make a point about men, but I had to talk about women to make my point about men.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, like a woman who becomes a mom.
Yes.
This is there's no plan B. You don't know, you don't have any clue what you're doing, but there's no getting out of it. So you just do it. You raise that baby. You nurse, you cuddle, you set timers for naps, you make the baby food, all that kind of stuff. Dudes, we have that fatherly instinct that kicks in, absolutely. But how many times do we get out of changing the diaper? And how many times do we try to get out of waking up to check on the baby at night? And the small little detailed things, just that adds up like crazy, and you have 1,000 things that become one giant thing. But the smaller little, we're just lazy in that way, I guess. But whether a woman feels ready to be a mother or not, she'll knuckle down and raise that baby to the best of her ability.
Step up to the plate, because it's two different kinds of hard that you're touching on.
Exactly.
Where it's for men, they're better with the overarching kind of thing, the things that are a little bit harder, more in your face, and more simplistic in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially too, no offense, but it also means less brain power.
Well, yeah, we're not good at multitasking.
Yeah, because that's the one thing too that can sometimes be discouraging or get in the way is oh my goodness, this is going to take so much mental energy. And you don't want to do it. You don't even want to think about it, even if it needs to get done. And then you get mad at it. You don't want to look at it. You don't want to deal with it. You're just no. And you just refuse to do it. Because again, sometimes you can get emotional when you're just frustrated and you're not dealing with your feelings. You're just feeling your feelings.
Exactly.
And there's a difference. So we should move on to another point, but with the insufficiency thing, I'm this, and this is kind of veering off from procrastination, but
it's still
feeling of, it's all gonna tie together because we're all
like a fence this present.
It's beautiful, everything's interconnected and everything. This is why we take the holistic approach, because everything is connected. You can't just, you can categorize things to an extent, right? Compartmentalize things to an extent. But anyways, with the, feeling of insufficiency, you're not enough, all these kinds of things, one thing that really helped me with that, that has been helping me with that more and more is not making it about myself and, really prioritizing what needs to get done over how I feel about it, right? The getting it done and letting it go over feeling about it, over thinking about it. And it's just sometimes go from, there's too much thinking and not enough doing,
True.
You know, where like sometimes men can be a little bit more on the doing side, but not enough on the thinking side. And sometimes women, and it can vary between different personality types and this and that. And then sometimes like women, it can be a little bit more on the thinking side, but not enough on the doing side. Or they'll be doing, but they won't be dealing with it, right? Like how we can talk about something and maybe try different things or different approaches, but if we don't really let it go, if we don't really close the deal, so to speak, on the problem and have it like officially taken care of, then we're going to keep coming back to it like constantly. And so, you know, like how you made the example of being a mom, when you become a mom, that baby is more important than being tired. It's more important than not having fun, you know, in a lot of ways. It's more important than a lot of things. And that's where they, you know, where we will really step up to the plate. And this is with every person, right? Like you don't have to be a woman or be a mom to be able to like think about this, right? Like if something is important to you enough, you will get it done.
Yep.
And one thing Jess and I were talking about before even we started recording was Gilbert's Law. So Gilbert's Law states that if you take on a task, take on a responsibility, you will figure out a way to get it done. And that's what we need to do, because life is a game and you cannot win the game unless you follow the rules. When you know certain of the rules of life, right? Like for example, you know, not talking behind someone's back, right? Because eventually someone can be talking, you know, about you behind your back, that you talked about them behind their back. You know, there's certain level, like part of that, like integrity is really just, you know, certain social or spiritual laws that fall into place that will help you to succeed. And then as, you know, you prosper, then you'll see your life prosper, and you become more prosperous as you do what needs to be done. And part of doing what needs to be done is following through on certain rules of life. And that's essentially, right, like how you succeed in the game of life, right? And so if there's something that you need to get done, right, like we said, being a mom, doing this, doing that, if it is important enough to you, if you're dedicated enough to getting it done, then you will figure it out. But if you're not figuring it out, it's not going to do so well. It's not going to go so well for you. You're going to backtrack, right? And if you backtrack in one area of life, sometimes you can backtrack in multiple areas of life. And that doesn't do well for your confidence. And then you end up in this whole cycle of not progressing, but regressing.
Totally. And it's like, you know, if you accept the task, it's your responsibility to get it done.
Your mission, should you choose to accept.
But that also means, and this is something we talk about all the time, it's a huge problem. If you can't get something done, then you shouldn't accept it. And that's also your responsibility to know what you should say yes to and what you should say no to. Like I was going over this with the guys in Ironman, and they were just bringing up about how, like, you know, being a man of the word. I want to be a man of my word. I want to say what I mean, and I want to do what I say, and that type of thing. And that's something that I think every man deep down wants, period. Because that's just, you know, like part of being a man, you know. It's part of being a woman too, but it's a thing. And
I'm sorry, it's just you said that, like being a man.
It is being a man. You know, if you don't stick to your word, you may have male parts, but you know, we got work to do. And a massive part of that is just not giving your word when you don't want to follow through on it, when you don't think you can follow through on it. And it's like, we've all heard this stuff before, you know, don't make a promise you can't keep. But that's like something that people don't put into practice. It's just a saying that they have, and then they continue to people please, and they continue to put everybody's priorities above their own. Not that being of service is a bad thing. It's one of the greatest things you can do in your life. But you have the responsibility to make sure that you, one, accept the things you should accept, and two, that you can do the things well that you do accept.
Yeah, and moms are probably one of the best examples of that. And it's not only moms, obviously, but it's just, you know, it's a lot. When we bring that up, sometimes it can be really easy to conceptualize, to make our point. Because if someone doesn't understand the point you're making, what's the point of even putting your mouth? Right? If you don't learn how to communicate your point well. But anyways, it's sometimes as women, we can just get like into this state of frustration where it's like, I'm just going to do everything myself. And men could definitely do that too.
100%.
Workplace or this or that where, because you're responsible.
Especially like blue collar guys.
I was just thinking that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like business is execs too.
Yeah.
Especially blue collar. Like they're vocal.
Yeah. Anyways, but it's on you. It's the thing that needs to get done isn't done properly.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, oh, well, I may as well do it myself. And no one wants to doesn't actually truly want to be a difficult person. Like no woman wants to be nagging and saying again, hey, can you take out the trash? Can you take out the trash? Can you take out the trash? Nobody wants to do that.
They just want us to take out the trash.
You know what I mean? Like it's pretty simple. Anyways. So it's like, okay, I'll just do it myself. Like honestly. And the thing is though, and a lot of men have made this point where a woman will ask them to do something and then because they don't do it like right then and there, then they'll do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is partially, of course, a problem with their own experiences. Maybe it has nothing to do with their husband, anything their husband has done, but also because they've been trained in that way. And we've trained each other, right? Like we all have bad habits. We all have these things that we're insecure about, that we are impatient in. And impatience, again, is a lack of love, a lack of understanding, because we all have problems and we need to give people, with this not doing everything yourself, because how your environment thing, when we talk and establish her, is not assuming other duties by ignoring present duties.
Yeah.
So you do not and again, that thing of assuming, right? Like assuming you can do it, assuming you can do that on top of what you're supposed to do every day.
Probably every woman throughout history has gotten stressed around Christmas. Ever since Christmas.
Okay.
Because you'll pick 13 different foods to make and everybody has a different request and you're like, yes. And you guys pile up this mountain of pressure on yourself just over a dinner. Guys do the same thing, around the money and the presents and the bills. And yeah, for sure.
Well, it's an identity thing too, right? It's not just oh, I want to appease you, but it's that's how I see myself.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm someone who takes care of you. I'm someone who gets the job done. And you do extremely well. Oh. But a
hot woman with a plate of fresh made food. Oh my God. It's every man's already.
You sound like that, Sebastian guy, or is that just it? Yeah.
He's fun.
But essentially, it's this is a problem. If you're noticing it as a problem, if you're noticing you're getting dysregulated, right? And when you're dysregulated in your emotions, you get dysregulated
in everything else.
And everything else.
Everything else.
Your mind transcribes the world for your body.
100%.
Right? So
Absolutely.
If you understand...
I couldn't have said it better myself, darling.
Thank you. If you understand that what is going on a certain way, right? No one appreciates me. No one, people take me for granted. I don't do enough, right? Because you're never going to feel enough if you're trying to do everything. And you're going to, feel bad about that. And sometimes feeling bad can be a good thing, but sometimes it can't if you're constantly in that state. And we really just have to learn how to take our hand off of the wheel and allow other people to learn how to do things. And give them time and the space to do that.
But that is one of the big reasons on why it is so important that everybody becomes meticulous about who they put their trust in, who they give access to, who is in your inner circle. Because if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of people and I'll just pick on us for example, we have this mission. To us, it's one of the most important things in the world. We got to get people healthy. We got to get families healthy. We got to get couples having babies again. We got to get young people staying young as they get old. We got to get old people young again. All these things that we got to get gut health. We got to get the brain health. We got to get the body working as it should, and do something about 9 out of 10 Canadians dying because of chronic disease. That is an unacceptable number.
That is so unacceptable.
And I don't know if we're going to be able to impact the entire country.
No.
But you can bet your bottom freaking dollar that we're going to do everything that we can to try.
Yeah, at least do something about it. You know
exactly.
What I'm saying? Do something about it.
And so if that's our mission and we build a team for the company of a bunch of slack-jaw nobodies who don't actually care. They just want a small little paycheck, and they're not in it for the mission. They're not in it for anything extra than just the bare minimum. And we're putting a bunch of jobs and tasks on them, and it's not getting done well. That's not their fault for not doing a good job. That's our fault for not recognizing that that's just where they're at right now. They don't want to do a better job. They don't want to go above and beyond. They don't want to do the extra stuff. And it's no different if you're running a company, if you're running a household, if you have a friend group, a swim team, a bowling club. It doesn't matter. Because people cannot do everything on their own, like we're talking about. I cannot become the man that I am, that I've already gotten to, or that I will be in 30 years without you. It's impossible.
Justin, come on, you should figure it out. You're a man. You don't
I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not the smartest guy ever, but I'm smart enough to know that that's never going to happen.
And that's the same thing for me too. There's this saying oh, I don't need a man. No, you don't necessarily need just any man. You need your man. You need the man. The man is your man.
Exactly.
You need the man, and that man or that woman or that person, those people that you can trust are who are going to get you where you want to go, because you cannot do it alone.
Nobody can.
Nobody
Whether you're married or you're not married, you're talking about your spouse, we're talking about your siblings, we're talking about your employees, your management team, we're talking about your personal trainer, whoever.
Yeah, not even God can do things alone.
He doesn't want to. Why would he? So we have to surround ourselves with people. That's unavoidable. But because that's unavoidable and it's so important and necessary, that's why we have to make sure, or at least give it our best foot forward, that we're surrounding ourselves with the right people.
Yeah.
Because if you surround yourselves with the wrong people, the wrong stuff's going to happen 100% of the time. 100% of the time. If you surround yourself with the right people, there's still going to be wrong stuff that happens. There's still going to be mistakes, bad things, challenges, attacks, whatever else. But you're going to have the tools necessary to overcome all that stuff.
Yeah.
And your life's still going to be good despite how hard it may be, because you got the support around you. You have your tribe. You have your friends, your family. And it's just mission critical. You have to figure that out. Because if you're just putting your trust in people that do nothing besides judge you and talk behind your back, you might not be doing anything wrong. You might be you're supposed to share what's going on. You're supposed to have somebody to be accountable to. Like I talked about earlier, I needed to have you as an accountability, because me being accountable to me wasn't enough. But if I turned around and I picked a bad woman, and you're just, vindictive and insecure and spiteful and cruel, and every time I piss you off, you just turn it around on me and it's like, well, and you go and you talk about it to all my friends, and you write, anonymous forums about it on freaking Reddit.
Oh my God.
These guys on YouTube can go over these crazy stories for the whole world to see, and all that nonsense. Then I would not be making any progress, even though technically I'm doing the right thing. But I'm doing the right thing with the wrong people.
Yeah.
And that makes the right thing the wrong thing every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, very true.
So it's just so important that we prioritize that. And it's not about feelings. It's not about, Pookie was in my school since I was grade 2, and I've known him for 30 years and all this kind of stuff. And that's great. But if Pookie is holding you back to becoming the person that you want to be, and you're not somebody who can help Pookie become a better version of Pookie, then you and Pookie aren't doing anything productive together. And you got to find some way somehow to get your time focused with people who are actually going to lift you up, build you up, make you a better person, so that, in a year or 6 months or 2 years down the road, you can turn back around, give Pookie a good dap, and you guys can grow together because you're strong enough to help them, and help them be strong enough to help you.
Yeah.
But if that's not happening right now, then priority number 1 is finding a way to make that work.
Yeah.
Because if you're not growing, you're going backwards.
Yeah.
And every day, every month, every year that you stay going backwards, that you're not growing, it's a year that your life is sucking significantly more than it has to. Flat. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. This is what the people are watching for. For your passionate talks. Inspires me. But one thing too that I'll make a really great example of, with the whole letting people help you. Because that can be very difficult to do when, especially you. Go ahead.
Nope.
Go ahead.
Let you
Really? Because it seemed like you wanted to make a point.
Okay, if you insist, And if you surround yourself with the right people that build your trust, get your trust, build your confidence in them, in their ability. If they're the right person, they're going to prove themselves to you. And what you just mentioned, that's not going to be a problem for very long. It didn't take you very long to know that you could talk to me, because when you did talk to me, it turned out well. Same thing for me, because I was the right person for you and you were the right person for me. And on the flip side, if it's the wrong person, it's a lot harder to figure that out, because people don't like change, and they don't want to give stuff up, and they don't want to be alone, and they don't want to be lonely, and they don't think that they can get much better, and all these things that people think about themselves that are not true. But it's like, if you don't have the right people, you won't do the right things, they won't do the right things, and it's just very, very hard. Very hard. Okay, I'm done. Your turn.
Anyways, I just gotta quickly say, and this is something that, will happen to people the more you grow closer to your spouse. But all the time, sometimes, like literally, if I just sit there and I look at you and you just talk about honestly everything, but sometimes when I just look at you, one of the things, like, yes, I think like, oh, you're beautiful, you're so handsome, or this or that. But a lot of times I just constantly think, even though I'm already married to you, I think I just want to marry him. Like, I want to marry him like right now. Like I constantly think that, where it wasn't just a one-time decision, it was a forever decision. It was an everyday decision.
Totally.
So that's just something. It's just something important. What? Let me.
If I started, it'd take too long. So I'm going to tell you that about. So everything else left.
Okay, cool. So I'll give another example of the whole letting people in to help you to do things, because again, with women, and yes, as we touched on with men, especially blue collar guys or whatever, but this is most important with women, because usually it has to do with your family, people that you specifically want to be patient with, right? Because here's the thing. No woman, as we touched before, no guy, like no one wants to nag. No one wants to be difficult. That's not a desire. No one was a little kid and it was like, oh, I want to be a nagging person who has to repeat themselves, over and over again, to the point where they get super frustrated and angry, and just in a bad mood for the day. And because it doesn't feel good. That's not what is optimal for your social health, for your physical health, for your emotional, mental health, your spiritual health, etc. It's just, it's not what is right. It is not what is most natural for the human body and the human mind.
Yeah, then.
Anyways, but in the same way where men will have to explain plenty of things to us, right? Not because we're stupid, just because, a lot of guys, they can have a lot of amazing skills, like skills that are important, or they know like a lot of different big definitions or this and that. Like, for example, cars, right? Like, there's plenty of girls out there that know about cars. I know almost nothing about cars, right? So sometimes
No, that's not true. What? You're much better with that kind of stuff than you think you are.
Can you talk? Okay. Anyways, or whatever. There's certain things that you know a lot more about.
You know how to fix the flexi capacitor? That's easy.
Oh yeah, that's as simple as it gets, really. Anyways, there's certain things that you've taken interest in that you have, made sure that you know about.
Okay.
And I haven't taken interest in that, but there's going to be times where I need to know those things, and so I'm going to ask you to help me with that. I'm going to ask you to help me with a lot of different things. And your job in being loving towards me is to explain certain things in a non-condescending way, and, not mansplaining, but explaining, just teaching. And that's something.
Well, it's not mansplaining or what was the one for women? It was mansplaining. Then you sent me that one video. What was it? It was like woman something.
I don't remember what it was.
Oh, it was so good.
It was so smart.
It was so much more creative.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing. Okay, mansplaining is when a male is being inappropriate in the way he's explaining to you. Like he's being condescending. He's just being a jerk.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not just mansplaining or whatever the thing is for women. Oh man, I want to figure that out. It's so funny. But it's just it's teaching, not telling,
Yep.
you know? And that's our philosophy with the courses, with the videos, with the clients. I mean, like this with each other, you know, it's just whether you're a man or you're a woman, doesn't matter. Just how does this person need to hear it for me to actually teach them? Not how do I want to sing it?
Yeah. And a lot of times for men to learn, they need to actually do something themselves, right? Like I can't always just tell a guy, like give a guy instructions and they can put it to use. Sometimes they need to do something like physical with their hands or have it be, you know, into like a habit, maybe even be reminded or this
We're born and raised on trial and error. You know, like that's a necessity.
Yeah, with women, sometimes you can just sit them down and explain it, and then they got it. You know, pretty much, right? So sometimes we can be a little bit more on the book smart side of things, and then with guys, like they need something that's a lot more hands on. You know, and there's different teaching styles for different people, but I think it's just, you know, if you need support in something, right? And again, for women, we cannot assume other duties by ignoring our present duties. And so in order for that to happen, to teach another person to do certain things that you need help with, right? Because if you're struggling in something, it means that task is too much for you. If you are like driving yourself crazy, if you're like in anxiety over it, if you're witnessing the results and you trying to do as many things as you are currently doing is not doing well for your mental health, for your physical health, you know, for your relationship, etc., then clearly it's not working. That's just not like a good strategy for growing. That's something that's going to hold you back.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing that holds people back because part of growing is not just you like, oh, doing more or better at that thing, but you actually not doing it.
Totally.
There's a lot of times when we do things that we like don't need to do, that we don't have to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like what we're always saying. It's not like everyone's always like, do your best, do your best, do your best, do your best. Yes, do your best in the sense of give it 100% of your effort. If you're going to do something, do it right. Absolutely. But if you need to do something, it's just about doing what's required, you know? And this is for men and women, if you do your best and it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that you need to get better. You know, like you said, if you're struggling with something, it means you're not strong enough to handle it. But it doesn't mean that you're not strong enough to handle it. It means where you're at right now, your current strength level. Doesn't mean you can't get stronger, you know? And it's just doing what is required. So you try. If it doesn't work out, you get better. You learn more skills. You spend more time practicing, all these things. And you get to the point where you're so good that stuff that used to be very hard is now really, really easy. And you're using like 10, 20, 30% of your potential. But before it was 100% and it was impossible. And now it's nothing and it's easy, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just that is a principle that has really served us well.
Absolutely.
Especially me. Just like, okay, it's cool if I do it for the first time ever and it's not perfect.
Yeah.
That is, I am still worthy of kindness. It's just, okay, yeah, like that's expected. It's your first time doing something. Don't expect it to be perfect. Don't expect it to go even good. If it goes bad, that's fine. Because the point is that you're learning, you know?
Yeah.
Wisdom comes through costly experience.
Yeah.
That means you have to make mistakes. You have to go through hard times. You have to pay in some way, somehow. You know, you pay with your time, you pay with your heart, you pay with your money, you pay with your the skill on your knees, whatever. But you pay and you learn and you make mistakes and then you get better and you improve. And then doing your best isn't even what you have to do anymore. It's just easy now. And you got to do your best for something else. But it's doing what is required. Just doing your best. You know, so that's a big excuse people use. Like, oh, well, I'm doing my best. And it's not, well, if it's not working out, then you got to do better. Even if it's your best now, that's fine. But if it has to happen, if it's required, if you have to take care of your children, if you have to make more money, if you have to get your health in order, if you have to do the things that you're trying to do, and you are legitimately doing your best, and it's still not enough, that's totally okay.
if it's something you do have some control in, and you're not progressing, you're not actually doing your best.
Exactly.
Because doing your best, like, includes, like we said, like figuring out how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that, asking for help, getting other resources,
getting more support.
Yeah, like whatever that may be, right?
Yeah.
But again, back to my point is, like, there's going to be times where you can't expect other people to do what you want them to do. You have to inspect.
Totally.
You have to ask them again. You have to remind them again, and that has to be okay. But the goal essentially, and this is just something that sometimes just has to happen. It doesn't mean that the person doesn't care about you, but we all have different things that we're good at, different things that we're not so good at, right? And ladies, sometimes men are genuinely really bad at multitasking. And don't get me wrong, there's an aspect to where they don't want to do it, but who does want to do it? And especially if you know that he's a guy that will take a bullet for you, and maybe it's like, oh, well, when you remember to take out the trash, well, maybe not, but that him doing those big things, if you let it be enough for right now, and you let it be good enough for you to be patient and reminding him in certain areas. And there's a lot of different variables to this, but I'm only making one point on this. It's like, if you let it be enough, it can be enough. He's not going to complete you. He's not going to be perfect, just like you're not going to be perfect. But, being patient with other people is how we learn how to be patient with ourselves. Because there's so many ways that we see ourselves mess up. And maybe other people think we're doing great. They think, oh, well, you do this and you do that, and they just leave us to it or whatever. But inside, it's like, I'm struggling. But if you learn how to be patient with letting other people learn what they need to learn, and you inspect and you expect, and et cetera, more and more and more, you'll learn to actually be nurturing to yourself by being nurturing to other people in this way.
Yeah,
because you can't do it all. That's for every single person, and you have to accept the support. And sometimes the support that is available to you is not perfect. It's not exactly what you want, but it's available to you, and it can make your life better if you allow it to.
Yeah. Booyah.
You have to be strategic.
We could go forever. Well, I know I could.
Well, eventually I would need to sleep. So, I mean, you're great, but
okay. But yeah, I mean, just we shared a bunch of life lessons, a bunch of things that we've had to learn, costly experience. Training did not come easy, but it's stuff that has made our lives infinitely better than it used to be. And just if people apply these same things like we have, they're going to get good results like we have. It's just that simple.
Absolutely.
We've seen enough of the evidence that these things work with everybody in the academy. So just, if you want a good year, you can have it, period. Like, everybody can have a good year. You can have a good year this year, next year, the year after that. And that doesn't mean that everything good is going to happen to you. It doesn't mean that everything bad is just going to run from you. It just means that you can choose how you look at your life, how you think about your life, the choices that you make in your life, what you do about what you like and what you don't like in your life. And, it starts with having a good mentality, having a good mindset. If you can think about things and learn some stuff that helps you, that it just gets better.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Okay. All right. But yeah, this has been, things that hold people back on the Revitalized Podcast. And, question for you guys, what have been some things that you've overcome that you can, touch on, maybe, questions about it, or, examples, stories, things you want to share with other people to encourage them. Mm-hmm. What is something that has held you back before that you've overcome? because, you know, we're a species that is meant to grow. We're a species that is meant to evolve. And, you know, part of making that happen is supporting each other in doing that, encouraging each other in doing that, right? Like lifting one another up, right? Calling one another up over calling one another out. Oh, you're not doing enough here. You're not doing that enough there. Don't get me wrong. Like tough love is not just saying things as you see it, but saying things the right way. That's actually going to give
it has to actually
result. Like it has to do something.
Change.
Like,
it has
right?
to be productive.
Like, if you're just being just unkind and, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna point out your flaws. Okay, well, I can point out yours. Then you're just fighting. Like, there's no point to that.
No, then.
Like, if you're going to basically, just the point earlier, if we're not communicating properly, then what's the point of even opening our mouths? Like, if you're going to, you know, try to explain something to someone, something that you would like to see them change, then you must do it in a way where it's something they can latch onto. It's something that they can, you know, use and utilize, because the complaining, the nagging, the just getting frustrated, maybe sometimes that can be affected to a point, you know, where we have emotions, and sometimes we just you know, with the straw that, what is it? The straw that
broke the donkey's back.
Broke the donkey's back. That one. But sometimes we just have to do it properly and make it stop. Okay.
It's a camel.
It's a camel. You said donkey.
I said donkey.
Why did you say donkey?
Because I wanted to see if you would say donkey.
I felt like it wasn't a donkey, but it's because I trust you so much. I said donkey anyways.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Well, thank you guys for watching.
You.
Hopefully we shared enough lessons from ourselves without revealing too much about how silly we used to be.
Oh, there's so much more.
How silly we currently are. But yeah, just, you know, a lot of good decisions, a lot of bad decisions, but the good decisions are outweighing the bad decisions, and life is good, life is beautiful, and we just want everybody else to be able to live that too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, this is a life worth living, and, you know, but it's each person's responsibility to make it more worthwhile living.
Exactly.
Because it really can be.
You're gonna be alive. You might as well live to the fullest, baby. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You like the way I did that? I threw the catchphrase in there?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. This has been the Revitalized Podcast. Thank you guys a bunch for your time. Hopefully you got something good out of this. If you did, share it with somebody else who needs some good things in their lives. Like on it, comment on it. If you didn't like it, tell us what you didn't like about it, and we'll hopefully get better. But just, yeah, God bless you. God bless your family. Tune in next time.
Absolutely.
See you guys.